Broadcasting live from our studio in Boston, Solutions Review is proud to showcase Camunda in the Solution Spotlight, a unique online event for industry professionals.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to the Solution Spotlight featuring Camunda and focused on unlocking the business value of hyperautomation. In today's dynamic environment, organizations must harness current and emerging technologies to create differentiated customer-centric experiences. However, many realize disconnected technologies limit their ability to transform processes from end to end and achieve their strategic business goals. So this session will share the secret to unlocking the business value from hyperautomation technologies through process orchestration. You'll learn real-world examples of how organizations use process orchestration to create a foundation for agility and resilience. And you'll leave knowing how process orchestration enables your organization to streamline complex processes, enhance customer experiences, and gain a competitive edge. And joining us to walk you through this solution spotlight is Victor Grund, Director of Pre-Sales at Camunda. Victor, thanks for being with us.
Great. Thank you, Doug. I'm really excited to talk about this topic today. All right. So why don't we just get right into it?
Well, before you do that, let me actually set some expectations for everybody, because I don't want you to.
Sure.
I would love for people to have questions if they want to submit them. Please send them in if you do have questions. As Victor's going through his presentation, I think the presentation is roughly 30 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. And any questions you may have, send them in. I'll take them here and hold on to them until Victor's done. Then I'll jump back in and we'll go through a Q&A. Either way, I'll have some questions for sure, because this is a topic that I've been looking forward to. I love the whole concept of the idea of process orchestration. So I'm going to let you explain a little bit more about it, but I've already got a few questions I want to get to. And again, if anybody has any, by all means, submit them, and I'll bring them up at the end of the session.
All right, great. Thanks, Doug. This is a really exciting topic for me. I'm a little nerdy about process orchestration. Hope you will be too by the end of this. Just by way of introduction, I'm Victor Grund. I'm the Director of Pre-Sales of Consulting at Camunda. We're a leading process orchestration company. Today, I'll speak about unlocking the business value of hyperautomation, and that story will unfold in 3 sections. First, I'll discuss process orchestration and its role in all of this. And then I'll discuss some real-world examples. And then finally, I'll discuss a key long-term success factor for any automation project, and that is proving the business value. So why don't we just get right into it? So the term hyperautomation has been increasing in use for a few years now, but what exactly does that mean? Well, hyperautomation is a philosophy. And it's one which suggests that everything which can and should be automated will be automated eventually. So this asserts that businesses that will thrive in the coming years are on a relentless march toward pervasive automation. There's a corollary to that. The corollary is that businesses that fail to do this well will be at a competitive disadvantage. I might even argue that some of them will be facing existential risks. So if you want any evidence of this, just take a look at how much Amazon has disrupted the markets that they've entered. So this pervasive automation will involve the orchestration of multiple technologies, tools, platforms, and yes, people. So these organizations that are investing in hyperautomation today, they have some common business challenges. Digital automation and customer expectations. So fully embracing digital channels and providing a smooth omni-channel customer experience for those digital natives. Regulatory compliance, that's always a kind of a hairy one, and that's about navigating a complex set of regulations and perhaps most importantly, being able to prove compliance. Operational efficiency and resilience, so that's about driving a continuous loop of model, run, measure, and improve, all with the goal to do things faster, better, with less cost, lower error rates, and higher customer satisfaction. Dealing with the threat of disruption from digital-first companies. You must be able to pivot and adapt quickly to compete with digital-first companies. And the history of the last 20 years, in my opinion, is littered with anti-patterns for dealing with disruption. You have to be ready for it. You have to create conditions right now for success when those challenges arise. And finally, talent management. That's about attracting and retaining talent and bridging any skills gaps. Now, human labor is much more fulfilled doing challenging work. I think we'll all agree that leverages the unique talents of humans and not doing repetitive robotic work. Now, the situation today is not very Amazonish. It's extremely legacy-ish. So the aspiration is to get to that Amazon level of automation, but that's kept in check and it's stalled by the reality of system complexity. The problem is that these automation efforts are isolated with one team, one system, or even one physical device. Processes that they're not integrated with one another, and that means the end-to-end process still isn't fully automated. Without a view on the end-to-end process, it's very hard or even impossible to understand the process and track its key metrics. Plus, changing the end-to-end process is difficult because it requires many changes in many different systems, making it hard to make general improvements or adapt to new situations, like the rollout of a new product or a change in the regulatory landscape. So how do you avoid the downsides of isolated process automation and actually transform your organization? Now, we believe the answer is something called process orchestration. Gartner recently called out process orchestration in a Hyperautomation Tech Impact report this past March. By their definition, process orchestration can manage multiple core operational processes, and it focuses on controlling what resource, whether that is a person or technology, does what work and when. So basically, we agree on this. What this really emphasizes is weaving together different technology endpoints to benefit from each. And that way you get to leverage what you're already using for whatever specialized purpose for existing core processes today and in new ways tomorrow. So process orchestration addresses two key challenges that are found in digital transformation initiatives. One challenge is endpoint diversity. An endpoint is simply a discrete technology, tool, platform, or a human that's involved in a process. There are many possible types of endpoints that are required for processes. And the more diverse the set of endpoints that's required, the more difficult it is to integrate them into an end-to-end process. The other challenge is process complexity. So for proper end-to-end process orchestration, you must be able to accurately express everything that's happening in your business process. And this requires workflow patterns that go beyond a very basic sequence of step A, B, C. So let's dive into endpoint diversity just a little bit more. These are examples of common process endpoints: human work, AI tools, business roles, microservices, APIs, Internet of Things, RPA bots, and so on. Most of these categories are self-explanatory, but if you don't know RPA, that's basically robotic process automation. That integrates with an application via its user interface. That's used when an application lacks a proper API or has a very complex API that's somehow not suitable to use. And this is commonly seen when integrating certain old mainframe applications, just for example. Now, some processes might involve several endpoints that are all the same type. So for example, a process that extends across multiple microservices, a process that requires multiple RPA bots, or a process that uses APIs to perform various tasks. These examples line up well with three known categories of software: microservices orchestration, RPA tools, and integration platforms. But what about the endpoints in the other columns? And what about processes that span horizontally across multiple endpoints of different types? Our research shows that core end-to-end processes require numerous different endpoints on average. Process orchestration enables you to coordinate the execution of tasks across all of these diverse endpoints. And that's very fundamentally different from pure microservices orchestration, RPA, or iPaaS or integration platforms within those silos. Now, the cool thing about it is that due to its modern architecture that has cloud native scalability and performance, Camunda works really well with edge cases for legacy BPM platforms. So things that are hard to do with those, you can do easily. So for example, microservices orchestration with very high throughput and very high performance requirements. Effectively, this simplifies the underlying architecture and allows one to apply process orchestration to a wider aperture of use cases. And this is in keeping with the hyperautomation theme of being able to address the whole business process end to end. So in addition to the challenge of endpoint diversity, process orchestration addresses the challenge of process complexity. To look at this from a business perspective, imagine an insurance claim process that involves an RPA bot, some business roles, and some work that has to be done by people, a microservice, and an API. Perhaps we can further elaborate on this example to consider multiple channels like web, call centers, and in-person claims. What if a customer needs to move from channel to get help filling out a form, for example, when they start doing something on the web, or they encounter errors that need attention from a call center while the process executes? If we begin to accommodate these various scenarios, you can perhaps envision how the end-to-end process can become quite complex. It's not a simple matter of moving from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. This is a simplified real-world example from a Camunda customer. In this example, Camunda serves as the orchestrator while still using other domains via APIs, messaging, or other forms of integration. The process itself belongs to the claims domain. They're the owner of the process, and they determine how the process looks based on the business use case, internal needs, and whatever. Camunda is the top-level orchestrator in this use case, and it actually really does not matter what domain and technologies lie behind a task. We can cover more or less everything. This should result in one single point of the truth, aka the business process, being the single point of governance by the domain owning it, while all the other domains can and really should be developed independently. Through the process model, the communication between all the participants, whether they're business or IT, they're aligned and it's guaranteed. Now, Camunda choreographs all of this in a cloud-native, highly scalable, highly performant solution. We implement international standards, BPMN and DMN, as a common language for all automation stakeholders. And we have a uniquely developer-friendly and open architecture that enables necessary integrations across that entire domain of automation. We enable a phased approach where expedient value can be derived from automation as soon as possible. That's really important. But allowing iteration in the process itself or its underlying components. So for example, this is from a real customer, implementing an RPA bot for a component which lacks a proper API, and then perhaps later replacing that component with a full-blown microservice. Enabling reuse is a key theme of hyperautomation, and it plays out here. So underlying endpoints, connectors, integrations, and the processes themselves can be reused in other processes. So imagine a future version of this process that leverages something like ML or AI for fraud flagging, in addition to perhaps using some well-defined business rules. It becomes very easy to add this to the process with this approach. And here are some of the benefits of an approach like this. From Forrester, we commissioned a total economic impact study. This is a composite insurance company with greater than 10,000 employees and greater than $5 billion in revenue. And as you can see here, the value really is massive. And this is why the analysts are talking so much about hyperautomation. This concept of reusability. Build it once, reuse it many times. It drastically reduces development times. Automation, of course, massively reduces any manual tasks, up to 98%. Better customer experiences through automation increase retention, and they increase revenue through fast, innovative, reliable services that are delivered at scale. And doing this all with a flexible, open architecture with limitless integration capabilities allows organizations to create new value streams and adapt quickly with those aforementioned disruptors. This helps create long-term conditions for success. So you can see from this quote from Gartner how process orchestration can be the ultimate enabler for hyperautomation and digital transformation. This is really crucial for both end-to-end customer journeys and consistency of the experience to employees. Ultimately, process orchestration helps us address key focus areas for our customers. At Camunda, we work with many organizations in various industries, and we notice some common themes with them. This links back to those business challenges that I showed very early in this presentation. Organizations are trying to work out how they can leverage technology to create high-quality customer experiences that build customer loyalty. We believe automation is key to that. They don't want to be stuck in very lengthy implementation cycles. They need to demonstrate the return on investment in automation quickly. They also need to turn adaptability into a competitive advantage. So by using automation to create a foundation for agility, organizations can be ready to react quickly to changes in market conditions, customer needs, a new entrant to the market, or anything else. And at the same time, they want to be able to increase operational efficiency by using automation to streamline processes with a focus on reuse, resilience, and efficiency. All right, so the theory is great, but the proof is in the success that we hear from our customers. Atlassian is a Camunda customer that successfully transformed its end-to-end ordering system that's used for quotes, orders, and refunds. Camunda is at the beating heart of their automation system. It orchestrates many endpoints, including complementary products like RPA in the form of UiPath, iPaaS in the form of Workato, and ESB in the form of MuleSoft. Camunda's agnostic approach allows the integration of any technology or language, and that's the norm as we see in this example. This new process enables Atlassian to achieve a very high degree of automation, improving efficiency and delivering better customer experiences. And these are some of the business results that they've shared with us. And you can see that the high degree of automation they were able to achieve resulted in some very powerful ROI numbers. But this next slide will put their success into perspective as you see some real responses from their customers. So here are some of the responses that Atlassian's bot received from their customers. It's not exactly a Turing test or quantifiable data like the last slide, but I do think it speaks volumes to the quality of service that Atlassian is able to provide by using hyperautomation. Now, one of the secrets to unlocking business value comes from scaled adoption. So we've seen our customer success grow exponentially with higher usage. They're able to share resources, both actual tech resources and also internal knowledge, but they're also able to maximize the value of their work by reusing elements, such as process models, connectors for integration, and so on. If you want to learn more about adoption at scale, have a look at our process orchestration maturity model, and I've linked it on this page with that QR code that'll take you right to it. Let's take a look at an example of scaling adoption in the way I've just described. Goldman Sachs is a Camunda customer that's successfully migrated workloads away from legacy systems in favor of microservices that are orchestrated by Camunda. Some of the key features of this new platform are automated data management and integration to enable analytics, automated provisioning, alert management for self-protection and self-healing, and integration with manual tasks and user forms that use their proprietary tools there. This new platform enables a higher level of automation, functionality, adaptability, and visibility. They've been using our software for a variety of use cases since 2015, with over 60,000 users interacting with the software daily. In 2020, to meet increasing demands for throughput, scalability, resilience, and security, they started building a new enterprise-wide automation platform on top of our latest generation and cloud-native product, Camunda 8. Today, the entire firm is powered by workflows that are running on Camunda. To share a few numbers here, they run 300 Camunda engines to enable them to scale their workloads. They have 30 Camunda clusters in their development environment to support the processes that they're building and improving. They have 6,500 BPMN process models deployed and 65,000 unique users per year. And they coordinate 6 million human tasks every week. So truly, this is massive adoption that happened through scaled evolution. They didn't start here on day one, right? They started small and they scaled and they started to see that hockey stick in terms of value delivery. So hopefully I've convinced you that hyperautomation plays a major role in optimizing business operations and achieving organizational goals. So measuring that impact is key. In business terms, if we aren't adding value, why are we doing it? So we need to prove that value. And KPIs are very important in this discussion because they provide measurable objectives and performance metrics. They enable that informed decision-making, data-driven decision-making, continuous improvement, and alignment with organizational goals. So this is all the good stuff. They're a fundamental way to communicate with the business. So first, let's review some key considerations for selecting KPIs. They need to be aligned. So that means that they're aligned to the overarching business objectives to ensure that the process orchestration effort contributes to the customer success. They need to be relevant. So each process may require unique KPIs that are tailored to its specific requirements and characteristics. It's also crucial to know your audience and ensure that the metrics that you surface are providing the necessary information they need to succeed in their role. Of course, they must be measurable. Effective KPIs need to be measurable with clear data points to track progress and accurately assess performance. There's really no point in having a KPI if you can't measure it. And finally, they need to be actionable. So KPIs should provide actionable insights that enable orgs to take meaningful steps toward process improvement. There's also a signal to noise concern here, in my opinion. So too much information can be as bad as too little, and not every metric is a KPI. Sometimes less is more. Just because you can measure it doesn't mean that you should. I think you get the point. By carefully selecting KPIs, orgs can gain valuable data-driven insights into process performance, make informed decisions, and optimize business outcomes. So the really nice thing about this is that with a modern orchestration platform like Camunda, it will already instrument the processes that it orchestrates. So that allows a very easy way to surface what's happening with those processes in dashboards. So many business-aligned KPIs fall into these buckets that you see here. I see some or all of these very, very frequently on KPI dashboards. Some are direct KPIs like cycle time, and that means how long does it take to complete the process. That's a great example of what I mean by that automatic instrumentation. So the Camunda platform already knows the process very intimately, and it measures it automatically. It knows how long it takes to complete the process synthesis, so it's extremely easy to surface that. Some are categories like customer satisfaction that need to be measured with things like a survey at the end of the process that captures something like a net promoter score, an NPS score. That can be injected into the process as a data point, and therefore it can be surfaced and measured. I'm sure you get the theme of it depends here. I've written a few articles on this topic, and if you really want to dive into the mechanics of that, you can just take a look at my LinkedIn profile for those articles. Now, once you've selected your KPIs, let's discuss how to surface them. Here's an example dashboard that uses Camunda Optimize, and that's the component within our platform that produces these dashboards. This is tracking the number of auto insurance claims, the percentage of claims per adjuster, and how long it took to approve or deny a claim. You can see two SLA set, and one is for approvals and another is for rejections. And this can give you an overview of the approval speeds, ensure that we're beating our 1 hour SLA target that we've set based on our strategic goal of improving customer satisfaction. You can also see the percentage of claims by adjuster, which can help manage human resources or perhaps inform how we're handling business rules and routing. All of this is accomplished with a simple no-code dashboard. This is really a simple configuration exercise. You just simply have to choose what metrics you want to show and where you want them to appear. Underneath all of this is a data warehouse where historic process execution data resides. Data that can be used to surface views like this, flag compliance concerns, and provide audit trails. This is another dashboard view showing medical costs and task duration, both by adjuster and with a view of our process heat map to show where bottlenecks are occurring within the process. Dashboards that show costs are important for optimizing resource utilization and for cost effectiveness. Leveraging an orchestration platform in this way automatically instruments the processes, and it makes it really, really trivial to provide this level of transparency and visibility. Further, you can and you really should tailor these views by role or persona. So executives will have a different view than middle managers. Business roles will have different needs than operations. And of course, it will all vary by process. As technology evolves, process orchestration remains a strategic enabler. The ability to take an iterative approach allows you to take advantages of the best technology today and off into the future. So transform processes with a bias toward efficiency and resilience to optimize usage of current resources. Obtain operational agility by creating an orchestration platform to rapidly scale, adopt automation, and quickly respond to market shifts and changes in customer expectations. So quickly take advantage of emerging technologies like AI and machine learning to evolve your operations, and be prepared for the unexpected. Be prepared to out-innovate your competition. Harness valuable insights by selecting pertinent KPIs, leveraging deep insights to align your process orchestration with overarching business goals. And in conclusion, through hyperautomation that we enable with process orchestration, your business can achieve operational efficiency, resilience, and innovation, and be ready to seize future opportunities. So there's a lot more to discuss about unlocking business value with hyperautomation, and I've only scratched the surface here. I actually welcome the question section in a moment. But if you're interested in hearing more about best practices and real-world customer experiences and learning, take a look at our recordings from our ComundaCons, our process orchestration conferences. We're really fresh from the last one that just occurred this last September in New York City. And next year, consider joining us in person or virtually. Both options are available. And you should also check out my LinkedIn profile, as I've said. I've written a number of articles on this topic, and you can find a lot more information there, and you can engage with me, and we can talk some more offline as needed. So I think with that, we are ready to answer a few questions, Doug.
Yeah, this is great, and I love this topic, and I appreciate you going through that, because ultimately, this is where the rubber meets the road in digital transformation. I mean, there's a lot of talk about digital transformation, but you guys are actually showing people the practical technology that you can leverage to enable a proper digital transformation. So let's get into it, because as you can imagine, particularly when you show somebody like a Goldman that's been at it for 7 or 8 years now, and how complete they're leveraging the Camunda platform. One of the questions that we've received, and it's a question, quite frankly, that I think pretty much everybody would have, is, how do you get started? I mean, you're there at kind of that nascent stage. I'm curious what you would provide for advice with regard to how people should begin to approach this?
Yeah, that is a rich topic in and of itself. But my first thought on the matter is, if you know you want to get there, and you likely have multiple things that potentially fit a hyperautomation. So the question is, where do I focus first, and how do I build organizational competency to get there, right? To address where to focus first, I think you need to look at process complexity. So you need to look for repetitive and time-consuming processes with multiple steps and dependencies. The more complex the process, the better in many respects, because they're prone to errors and delays, and you see, more lift when you automate those processes. They're prime candidates. I would say look for processes that are performed frequently and in large volumes. So automating processes should amplify the benefits and save time and costs, when they're at scale. I would look for processes that require substantial manual intervention. That's the kind of thing you can make a huge difference with automation. And I would consider the business impact too of automating the process. So my advice there is focus on processes that drive new revenue, directly impact customer experiences, increase productivity and cost savings, that sort of thing. So aim to influence those top line business concerns. And I certainly would encourage you to get feedback from stakeholders and from the business, right? And figure out where their pain points reside, where they think automation would have the most value, and think of things in terms of critical business needs and KPI terms. And then finally, I would just look at feasibility, right? So not just technical feasibility, but is this part of the organization culturally ready for automation? And if not, what do we need to do?
Yeah, so following on with that, actually, a more practical question that came in is, can you elaborate on balancing quick wins versus long-term change? And they mentioned that RPA had big promises, but never went far enough or delivered for them long-term. So where can people think about those kind of quick wins?
Well, the beauty of the process orchestration technique that I've talked about is that you can address the whole process at a high level, and you don't have to deal with all the nitty-gritty details underneath it, right? So you can layer it on an existing process and simply measure what's happening with it. That could be step one, right? And then you could build out things underneath that process and modernize underneath it. That would be one really good technique to apply.
So another question again. I think a lot of people are impressed with the promise of the Camunda platform and process orchestration. And well, actually, before I ask this question, what's the difference between process orchestration and process automation?
Well, automation is just a broad category, right? And process orchestration is what I described, right? So, for example, workflow is another term that's thrown about in this industry. And it typically means small integrations between a couple of things, like within an application, for example. Zapier that connects applications together, but it doesn't do that long-term, end-to-end, deal with escalations, deal with real world complex business process. That's process automation.
And so one of the questions is there a minimum size of process that we should look at with regard to orchestration?
I would say the average process that I encounter, it has maybe 6 integrations in it, right? So like 6 different tasks or systems it needs to touch. And I would maybe look at that as a benchmark, right? If you're only doing 1 or 2 things, the value is a little bit limited. Yeah.
So, we're getting more questions, and we welcome any other ones that folks want to bring in. We're taking them in real time. I'm automating. So One question is, any best practices for when to look at analytics to make improvements? Quarterly, annual, weekly? Is there a sweet spot with regard to that sort of measurement?
Well, the reality is it depends. I hate to give that consulting answer, right? It depends
No
on the
worries.
persona that's consuming the information. But the beauty of it is it can be real time, and why not, right? An executive can look at it every day or just this hour. What are our revenues today, right? What's our error rate?
Somebody had a question about the heat map dashboards and how do they work?
How do they work? It's just a color coded way that can show various views of where a process is spending its time. Right. So, for example, if you do a time based thing, you have 6 steps, and the third step is taking 98% of the time. It's going to be red, really, really red.
As you're dealing with folks as kind of the front end of things, what trends are you seeing with regard to what are bringing folks to you? Is it a cultural, philosophical driven initiative, or is it just more practical? We need to get greater efficiency. We need to improve customer experience.
I see any and all of those, and sometimes combinations of those. Like, for example, a really common use case for Camunda these days is omni-channel account onboarding. And that is being driven by a number of things, certainly improving the customer journey, right? And all the outcomes that drives, like, more customers, more mortgages written, more cross-selling, that sort of thing. But it's also being driven by macroeconomic factors, right? Like, it's a hard market in security right now. I mean, not security. It's a hard market in insurance right now. And you've got to hang on to those customers and try to make that journey as optimized as possible.
So with regard to, again, what you're seeing, and it's a question regarding agile transformation, but more to the point, how does it work for somebody who wants to get started on something that's effectively a net new process rather than something that they've already tried to automate? Do you have a team that kind of supports a client with regard to thinking about perhaps processes that they want to automate that they haven't even attempted to yet?
Yeah, for sure. We definitely do that. We like to hold these, they're like ideation workshops where we help arrive at kind of a recommended process based on the needs and come up with an optimal model. We love to have those conversations. I love to have them because one of the things I like to try to accomplish in those meetings is not just figure out the way the model should look, but what is the value of this, right? Because once you understand the process well that you're going to build, you can start thinking about the KPIs that matter about it and how you might show it to the business. And you can start talking to the business in business terms about how process automation can improve it, even if it's a totally new scenario.
Yeah, well, so I want to get into that a little bit because there's obviously we would encourage everybody to go to camunda.com. There's a ton of resources out there, and certainly one of the best ways to come up to speed quickly on everything that Camunda offers is to head over to the website. There's a huge process orchestration handbook and a link to a demo. So certainly there's any number of ways to begin engaging, but I'm curious about that process. So what does it look like? How does it come together for somebody? So, let's talk a little bit about when they do reach out and potentially schedule a demo or engage with the sales team. Who gets involved? And then ultimately, as they become a client, what does that account management structure look like?
Yeah. So when they first touch us from prospect perspective, there's a salesperson that will engage with them and have a conversation with them about their needs and wants. And usually very quickly, someone on my staff will engage, the sales engineer, to really help understand, what the requirements are, functional, non-functional, show them the product, right? And then from there, the path that we follow is sort of it depends on the circumstances for their needs. But I like to have conversations about business value pretty early, and quantifying their business value. And if there needs to be some sort of a custom demo, proof of concept, that sort of thing, all of these things are possible paths for us. Once they transition to being an actual customer, we have a whole post-sales team. We have a customer service rep that they will deal with, as well as post-sales consultants that help them with just general consulting about how to get things done, best practices. There's a lot of training that's available for free on our Camunda Academy, it's called, ranging from how to model processes to how to write connector code.
I'm curious about that ideation process. So you're really kind of able to leverage, obviously, some of the best practices from within some of the customer accounts that you have. Are you able to help them kind of think through some of those outside of the box ideas that they may not have considered?
Yeah, we like to do that when we can. Some prospects already have a really strong idea of what they want to do. If they don't, that ideation is very interesting and fun for us. We like to do usually some sort of a workshop to go through that in detail and make some recommendations.
So with regard to prior to reaching out and connecting with someone on your team, what would you give for advice for that preparation stage, right? So somebody may have seen something like an event like this, where we talk about all the possibilities. And now it's a practical matter, okay, what do we need to do before we kind of jump into this? What would you provide for guidance with regard to how they should think about it, who on the team they may want to get involved? Should they, pick a specific process that they want to try to learn more about? I mean, what advice would you give them?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, just generally, I would try to kind of do a survey of those Communicon recordings that I mentioned, because they do cover real customers doing real things, and that can provide some insights about how they approach this problem, as every customer is a little different. If one is a part of the technology organization, typically there's an architecture team or already an extant center of excellence, perhaps, and that team clearly needs to be engaged. The business needs to be engaged, so it's important to try to identify stakeholders that could maybe support this, right? I'm not a fan of process orchestration science experiments that exist solely in IT. Talk to the business would be my advice.
Yeah, right. Having a little buy-in from the business side of things certainly always helps. Let's talk about that Camunda event that you have coming up, because again, this is much an awareness process as it is really down into the nuts and bolts of process automation. Can you just show? Can we somehow grab that graphic again and throw that up? Because I think the next one you have coming up is in May.
Yes, in Berlin.
And the other process orchestration conferences have been recorded, and you can get them on the Camunda site. Yeah,
it's they're very easy to access. There's just a simple form you fill out with your contact info, and you get it right to it, and everything's there.
That's great. And so these are customer conferences, and so you're bringing in actual folks that have been with Camunda and are now showing some of the steps that they've taken to improve their process.
Yeah, for sure. At the last conference, we had a fellow in Singapore that was with a fintech startup, and he discussed how they implemented a greenfield, like you just asked me about, to do loan approvals, loan applications in minutes, and go online through a web or a phone app, and literally while you're standing there, you get approved for your loan.
Yeah, it's great. This is a great topic, and I'm thrilled that you guys were able to bring it to us today in this spotlight. We would certainly encourage everybody to go to camunda.com and check out everything that they're doing online that you can readily see and is available. We would also encourage you to check out everything that we're doing covering this space across all of our WorkTech sites, ERP and BPM for sure. Victor, this was tremendous. We really thank you for the time today. It was a great presentation, and best of luck in the coming year.
Thank you so much, Doug. Had fun.
You bet. Well, there you have it. Another solution in our spotlight. We want to thank Victor and Camunda for that fine presentation, and we appreciate your participation as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.